Call to order the October 16th, 2024 meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission being held in the John B. Griffin Room at Harwich Town Hall. Participation is possible here in person or online through the GoToMeeting access. Instructions for accessing GoToMeeting are available on the agenda published on the Town of Harwich website. We are going to start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start on tonight's agenda with a notice of intent for 2 Rebecca Road, map 57, parcel A1-1, for the construction of a horse barn and paddock. This has been continued from our September 5th, 2024 meeting.
Good evening.
Good
David
evening.
Little from Ryder and Wilcox. I'm here with Hannah Green and her husband Matt Sheehan. So we did several things since we met with you the last time, one of which was I had some back and forth with the circuit writer from DEP because she wanted me to demonstrate that we were complying with the performance standards for the riverfront before she issued a final number. So I believe we've done that much because we have been issued a file number and I haven't heard anything else back from her at this point. So that being said, I provided you with several things. I provided you with a revised site plan showing a different configuration of the proposed paddock, a revised project narrative with performance standards, and as requested, a manure waste management plan that Hannah prepared. We've included that. And then additionally, as I go through my presentation, one of the things that is necessary when you're doing work in the riverfront is to show an alternative or create an alternative for the paddock. So just to recap a little bit, the proposed work occurs over a previously altered area, and it's not located within the buffer zone to any other resource area. And I included pictures. Well, they're not, this didn't occur while Hannah and Matt owned the property. This was what the property looked like when the person they bought it from purchased it. I showed you pictures of what the yard looked like within the area of the proposed paddock many, many years ago. So it's not like it's a virgin area that we're proposing to do the work. Additionally, the proposed work is not located in a mapped area of identified priority habitat. And then, because an alternative location is required, I provided you with this sketch showing how we could try to pull the paddock further away from the riverfront. But in doing so, because the ground slopes from the south side down to the north side, if we turned it, it would require significant grading. It would also require the removal of a significant amount of trees where the current location is pretty much wide open. So we've come back in with the plan before you, and the new location, we've pulled it further away from the riverfront. We've located the proposed fence for the paddock pretty much within the cleared area on the site. And then we also did some soil analysis, and we determined that below the organic layer on the property, there is a loamy medium sand layer. So what we're proposing to do is remove the organic layer down to the loamy medium sand layer, and then put the screen sand surface on top of that. So that being said, it's essentially flat. It's only sloping at a very, very minor manner toward the north. We looked at some other paddocks in the area. Paddocks with flat areas don't have stormwater runoff associated with them. And I believe that with us putting the sand surface over the loamy medium subbase, we shouldn't have any stormwater drainage issues on the site. So the final thing that I've done is I've shown the proposed barn. We pulled it back. We pulled it further outside of the riverfront. I've shown option 1 and option 2 for you to look at. I mean, the preferable option for Hannah would be 1, in as much as on either side of the barn, she would connect a fence from the north side of the barn to the edge of the paddock, and also on the south side a fence. So the horse would have the opportunity to be able to go in and out of the barn and be in an area that's close where she could keep an eye on them. And having it located in option 1, Hannah believes it would provide her and the horse a little bit nicer area to accomplish their goals. If the commission feels strongly that a structure should not be located at all within the riverfront, when we have the option to pull it back, we can do option 2, but we would respectfully request to do option 1 because it would work with the manner in which she proposes to house the horses and then use the remaining paddock area. So I'll try and answer any questions, and obviously Hannah can answer them as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excuse me, Amy.
So the issuance of a file number by DEP usually just signifies that they deem the application complete. They normally don't say whether or not they're in agreement. They just say whether whether it's a complete application or not. And because your first application didn't include alternatives analysis, I'm assuming that's why they kind of kicked it back to ask for that. I kind of wish other alternatives were looked at, because I do think you have alternatives here. To just do 3, I think there's other opportunities here, because the Rivers Act is very clear, stating that you have to minimize to the greatest extent feasible. And feasible doesn't mean monetary, it doesn't mean anything like that. I think there's a way, and to move it even farther out of the riverfront area, but not change its orientation. And I appreciate that you did change the orientation and look at that, but you can't get it all out of the riverfront area, but you have about 60 feet between your deck and where you're showing your fence. You'd have to move the shed. I'm not saying go 60 feet. I'm saying maybe go halfway. You drastically reduce, if you were to move it another 20 to 30 feet closer to the home. I understand that may not be desirable, but that's a viable alternative, according to the Wetlands Protection Act, something to be looked at. Also, because you cannot meet your 2-to-1 mitigation requirement, it's a way of decreasing the amount of anything within the 200-foot riverfront area. And I would contend that this area has been slightly altered within the past year prior to this application. So I think there is another alternative to be looked at, and I'm happy to explore that, but as presented, I can't recommend it. I'm sorry.
Well, I would encourage you to look at in the application that I submitted, I provided you with a mass mapper photograph of the area. The complete area south of here is the power lines, which are worked and disturbed and in very bad shape. And what we're trying to do is create a use in an area that's open, a natural use, an agricultural use for the applicant. If you need us to present another alternative, I can do that. We thought we were coming in with a significant change by pulling it further away from the riverfront. I defer to the commissioners to tell me what you want to see if it'll even work for Hannah and her horse at this point. I think she needs to figure that out.
Well, let's get some comments from commissioners. Wayne?
I agree with Amy. I think if you can move it further away from the river, closer to the house, it's something that works for both you and for us. I think that's the way to go.
Well, could you
Can
give us
we-
a number? Because I think we need to go out and market in the field for Hannah and her husband to see if it physically works. I mean, this is their backyard right now.
Okay,
and
let's
they'd like to have a
get
paddock.
the rest of the comments
Okay,
from the
forgive me.
commissioners, and then we can have a back and forth. Mark?
I understand exactly what you're up against. I'm afraid I agree with Wayne and Amy on this. If you just bring it toward the house a little more, it might satisfy everybody's interest. I mean, I can appreciate the fact that you like to keep it where it is. But the rules being what they are, it's difficult to accommodate that.
Sophia?
I don't know if I have any questions. I mean, I think I'm interested to hear if that's a feasible option to move it, did you say 30 feet?
I was
potentially?
estimating, I don't want to, I don't want to completely eliminate, your backyard. You do have a lot of side yard and front yard too. But I would say, I mean, I measured, I don't have my scale with me, but roughly 60 feet between where your proposed edge of fence is and your deck.
That's correct.
I said, what, could we do half that? Could you do 30 feet? Again, because you can't meet your 2-to-1 mitigation requirements, so you're already asking for a variance from that under the bylaw, but, in order not to do that. And then the Rivers Act, this is not what I would consider a previously, developed area, so you have to look at other feasible alternatives, and
I think I just overall don't feel super strongly about it, and I apologize, I haven't made it out to the site yet. But I feel like it's a relatively reasonable ask, and 30 feet one way or the other way, it's like, it's a little bit, that's where I stand.
So I have a couple questions. One is, you were making the case that the photographs are from a long time ago, but when? You didn't state when those photographs are from?
It was prior to the house being built, which was in 2003.
Okay, so 20-plus years.
21 years ago.
Okay. And did I understand you correctly that from your point of view, you have presented 3 alternatives?
No.
I thought I heard you say that. So,
Yeah,
sorry, I did,
presented-
I apologize, I did.
well, there's the original submission.
Mhm.
Then you resubmitted with a new thing that's just moving the previous plan a little more towards the house, and then another alternative.
Yes.
So I'm inclined to agree with the others that I think you need to consider moving it. And I think Amy's suggestion is reasonable. I mean, even if you just move the shed and fill out that corner, that's one thing, but it seems reasonable to ask you to move it further away from the river, further out of the 200-foot zone. Since there's room there, I'm not sure why you could not present that as an alternative.
So my point of view here was, like I said, if it's closer to the house, I can't have the horses in between the barn and the house. That was one of the reasons why I was trying to give just enough room from the barn to the house that I could have the horses there. if the barn was closer to the house, I would have to, the horses would be on the other side of the barn, which I wouldn't be able to locate them all the time. It's pretty much a run-in shed, like a 10 by 20 there, which I did, make a smaller barn as a result of last time. Last time I was proposing a 10 by 28, this time I'm also proposing a 10 by 20. The existing shed for my plan would have been, that is where I would store my hay, my feed, so the previous structure on the property already, that shed that you're referring to would be also utilized already, in my plan of having the horses there. I know I know this isn't on the plan, I know Dave and I briefly spoke about the detached garage that's already located in the front of the house, as Amy had said, that I do have a lot of property in the front of my house, and there already is a detached garage there, but I think, after we were looking into that, according to zoning, I wouldn't be able to propose the horses in the barn either, in
So
the front.
that was an alternative that we did look at, but the Board of Health regulations and setbacks would not allow her to use the existing garage in the front. So I can put that in writing, so I can tell you, we did explore
Okay.
using the existing garage in the front of the property, but if you look at the top of the page, Board of Health setbacks for the barn, it physically cannot fit on there.
I guess I wasn't saying eliminate the shed, I guess I don't, and I think the commission has the same question. I don't understand why the 10 by 20 barn, or not even the barn, but just the whole thing, the whole ring, couldn't be moved closer to the home, even by 15 or 20 feet. Maybe the barn has to shift a little to stay with setbacks, but then the shed could still be located in the backyard, it just may not be right exactly there.
So we hear you. I don't want to belabor the issue anymore. I think I need to meet with Hannah and her husband at the site and do some staking and see if this will work for her. Going back to the site and seeing if it'll physically work.
Okay.
And we can do that and have something back for your next available meeting.
Yeah. Our next available is November 6th.
Okay, well, seems like we should continue, right?
I just, early on, I didn't realize that a paddock in a riverfront area for a horse was going to be I'm used to representing people that build trophy homes and, are concerned about wetland interest, different wetland interests. I didn't realize that the riverfront was so impacted, because when I first met with Hannah and I saw what the power line looked like next door, I thought, well, this is a great proposal, and that's what I said to her, not understanding that the riverfront commands such protection.
Utilities
So-
have a completely different standard, and I understand, and I hear you, I do, and I know it probably seems unfair.
No, it's my fault. I should have
but
been cognizant of this.
It
I
is,
just thought that this was a good proposal, so we have to go back to the drawing board.
Okay,
Could I request
do
a
think-
continuance to the next meeting?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we continue for the 2 Rebecca Road, map 57, parcel A1-1,
I'll
till
second.
the 16th, did you say of November?
6th,
6th of November.
Mark
I should have
seconded.
asked for public comment, so.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's true.
Is there anyone in the room who would like to comment? Any further discussion from the commissioners? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4-0, thank you.
Do we have a second on that?
Mark.
Mark did, okay, I didn't hear it.
Okay, next we have a notice of intent for 47 North Road, map 19, parcel S2, for the replacement and repair of a bulkhead. We have someone online here representing.
Good afternoon. This is Roy Okarowski with WRS Engineering, representing Thomas Smith at 47 North Road. to start the presentation, I'm just gonna give my recap of what led us to this point and my solution to the problem. Originally, the bulkhead was failing, and Mr. Smith hired another structural engineer to design a wall, which was permitted under an NOI. But it took a really long time. And then in that period, there was some enforcement orders from the board having to do with the deck, et cetera, which was complied with. And then Mr. Smith hired a contractor who was not a reputable contractor, didn't know what he was doing, installed some sheeting with some tiebacks not following any kind of design that are actually helical anchors that you use to hold up docks in a pond. So what happened was the entire outer part failed. As you can see in the pictures I submitted, and if you've been out there, approximately 30 feet of the wall is gone. Just so happens too that portion of the wall is in about 12 feet of water. So, we have a problem there involving a set of really long piles and sheeting. What I did is I looked at the previous design, which, in all standards is not the type of design that we do these walls with on Cape Cod for a number of reasons. The first of them being fiberglass pilings cannot be loaded up with helical anchors to the forces we need to hold them up. I've seen them fail. Even though the file said fill with concrete, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. And then also the use of steel I-beams on these walls can create problems. So what I did was I used my knowledge of designing a few hundred walls and decided to go with Greenheart pilings and Greenheart whalers and some heavy-duty composite piling. What we're going to try to do here is put those pilings in and then put the helicals in and pull the sort of leaning sections of the wall back up to try to get it straight. Then we're going to start driving sheeting and tie into the existing sheets. The areas where we're going to work to are only about 4 or 5 feet deep, so we're not worried about those sections of the wall. We looked at alternatives also. Alternative one is do nothing. That's not an option. We're dumping sediment into the river. The house will eventually go. Option 2 is to put the house on pilings and remove the whole wall and everything. But then what we're doing is we're basically putting the road in harm's way, and that'll get underscoured. So that's not an option. So we really want to fix the wall. In terms of the value of the property, which is licensed as a filled structure in here, we're allowed to do this by right. I do understand there's been a lot of issues with the board and the owner, and we feel that under the management of WRS and some contractors that I'll be overseeing, we can fix this wall in a way that you'll be happy and not damage any of the surrounding marsh, any of the land subject, coastal storm flowage, or any shellfish areas. And I can answer any kind of questions on the project at this point that I have knowledge of.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
I don't have too many questions. I had sent Mr. Okarowski a list of questions that I had compiled from some of you and some that I had, and that's what I put in your kind of a Q&A section of your site summary here. Go ahead. Oh, I thought somebody else was talking, I'm sorry. The section that they are proposing to replace is approximately 30 feet long. I asked about how that they were going to tie in, and they explained that. One of my concerns was that we certainly have a deep hole there that's formed. If it can't continue to erode, well, it will continue to erode, I guess, in front of the new sheet potentially. Just want to make sure that we're not increasing scour to either side or other areas where where the sheets are gonna remain the old sheets. That's something maybe you could speak a little bit more about in 1 minute, Roy. Just check to make sure they were increasing the height of the wall. We just wanna make sure that they're not gonna potentially divert any floodwaters, more so than current. And, I guess, so my only question is, are you, have you picked a contractor, and do you have a potential time frame for work being started? Because that's one of the things that the commission has looked at and struggled with this property, is things happening in a timely fashion.
So in answer to your first question, I've done a lot of work on this property and the 2 properties across the river, and done a lot of mapping and looking here. And I feel that the scour hole has reached its terminal depth, because you can only go so far down, then material's going to start filling it in. So, you know, with the length sheeting we're using, I don't think it's really going to change much. It's remained approximately the same for quite some time. In terms of a contractor, I've got 1 bid in from CJR Atlantic, who does a lot of these walls, and I have requests out for 3 more contractors who haven't answered yet. It's up to the owner to select a contractor, but you know, the way we're going to structure it is, we'll be there for the pre-construction meeting. WRS will be there for numerous inspections during the process. Hopefully this can get done before the end of the year. It's tough right now because we're trying to get the permit, and then materials take 6 to 10 weeks to get ordered, and the contractors are booked up. So I would approximate this is really, you know, we're talking like April at the latest it's done, but I can't exactly answer that question because the hiring of the contractor is out of my control. I've urged the owner to hire, you know, a contractor once we get at least 2 bids in, and he's basically been speaking to all these contractors also. So we feel that we'll have somebody on board, you know, within a month or so.
Great. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, things are continuing to move. And I would agree with you with the Green Heart piles and whalers, and then the composite sheeting. I think they're a better option than the fiberglass and vinyl for this site. So I don't have any other questions, and I recommend approval to get this fixed.
Okay, well, let's get comments. Let's start with Sophia.
I don't have any remarks.
To me, it looks like a good plan. I'm glad to see this is getting resolved. I've worked on a number of these projects, these bulkhead projects, and it looks like a real good plan. I only have one question under your general notes. I know it's probably a generic thing, but it says that the supply all material, equipment, and labor for construction of a permanent rock revetment. We're not doing any rock revetment there, are we?
No, that's a typo.
Okay.
Excuse me for that one.
Just make sure.
Yep.
Good catch.
Okay, I have a few questions. One is, you're talking about maybe completing by April. However, there's going to be time of year restrictions here, right? Like January to June because of winter flounder habitat. That's what DMF is saying.
That's true.
So that's going to be a problem. So that's a comment or I'd like to understand the structural stuff a little better. You're talking about 30-foot
Sure.
pilings, but there's a 20-foot hole, and that 20 feet is relative to what? Mean low, mean high?
So the hole, it's approximately 12 to 15 feet in depth there. You know, I sounded all in front of it and everything. So rule of thumb is, you know, piles I'll put in twice the length, and then sheeting you will go in a similar matter like this. You can't put in, you know, putting in a 40-foot sheet here is just ridiculous, and it's not going to get much deeper. We're dropping in a double whale. The lower whale is going to actually be installed by divers because there's no, you know, we're going to push it down to approximately halfway between the top and the bottom, there to get it so none of the sheets will pop out. It's a pretty sound design. Does that answer your question with the depth of the pilings, or?
I still can't picture it, but I think I'm gonna rely on
Oh, yeah,
my colleagues' judgment about this, but
should be plenty.
just, final question is about the construction process. That is, again, the DMF is saying you can't expand the footprint at all, but you're also
We're not.
saying, you're also saying that you're going to contain the existing mess before you take it down by installing the piling in the wall. So I don't quite understand how you do that without expanding the footprint.
So I can explain this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull out everything that's just free and just a mess there, we're gonna pull out with the backhoe. Then along the original row of pilings, we're gonna drive the new pilings in there. And then we're gonna hang the whalers behind the pilings before we put the sheeting in. And those are gonna be in the original footprint. Then, at that point in time, we're gonna drive these helical anchors and we're gonna load up those pilings so they can't lean over, in a sense. And then we don't do it final with those. Then we start driving that sheeting, so the pilings and the green heart are the false work to drive the new sheeting. If you can picture that, so everything goes in straight, ties in inside the wall. We're ignoring the wood wall. Like, that's basically a throwaway at this point. So, our sheeting is gonna be inbound of the original wood, and then the pilings are gonna be where the wood was, so we're actually in that footprint. Just as a note of protocol too, the DEP always allows an extra, wall to be put in front of old walls. They do it all the time under a non-new license, but we're choosing not to do that. We're going right in the same footprint. And that's kind of how, I see it being done. I can't tell, I'll mark the limits of the work, but I can't tell a contractor how to do his work. That's means and methods. That's against all professional engineering standpoints. We basically spec the project, we design the project, and then we report on it.
Okay. Anything else? Do we have anything from the public in the room or online? I don't hear anything. Any further comment here? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the plan for 47 North Road. Let's see, map 19, parcel S2.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, next we have a notice of intent for 23 Ships Haven, map 12, parcel Y3-10, for garage removal, additions, septic, and mitigation plantings.
They've asked for a continuance to November 6th to address some concerns.
So I'll move that we continue 23 Ships Haven, map 12, parcel Y3-10,
I'll second that motion.
until November 6th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Okay, so we're at orders and conditions.
No, we have an
No.
RDA.
Oh, I'm sorry, skipping ahead here.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Well, we're doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, we're doing
but-
pretty good.
So next we have a request for determination of applicability for 14 Parallel Street, map 40, parcel D3, for a porch addition with mitigation plantings. Do we have an advocate here?
Dan Croto from Moran Engineering should be online.
He is there. You with us, Dan? We're moving too fast.
We'll give him another minute and then we can come back to it.
Right. Okay.
Might I suggest we go to the violation if Sean Riley and Angela Tanner are available for 10 Harbor Road? And then we'll go back to 14 Parallel Street.
Sure. Looks like they're there. I'll vote.
Yep.
Are you here?
Hi, Sean.
Sean Riley, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
All right, not sure why my camera's not
Yep,
working.
there's Angela.
Angela is here as well.
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Angela, do you want to bring up your plan or?
Sure, I can bring it up. Uh, It's
They all
asking
do
me
have-
to, oh,
They all do have your plan as well in front of them.
Okay.
it's,
Try it again, Angela.
it's just giving me some security stuff about sharing my screen, so let me just,
I do not have the plan, actually. I didn't get paper copies of it.
Should be on the table? No?
Oh. Did I get a copy on? Oh,
I colored
okay.
in things
Thank
because
you.
the plan is,
all right.
the base plan is from their land management plan.
Okay. I got it.
it's not letting me share without restarting everything with,
Oh.
some kind of security
I don't-
password.
I
I
don't
don't know
know
if
if
that's
we need to.
my computer or,
Well, we have plans in front of us, so maybe you can just refer to the,
sure, it's pretty simple. There were 2 cherry trees, that were cut that were near the steps that go down towards the water side, and then there was a very large black oak that was also removed without permission. And so our plan is showing that we would like to, the cherries are actually growing back pretty well. So Amy had suggested that maybe we can prune them and retrain them into tree form and keep them where they are. So we have notes on the plan about that. And then we also have added another oak tree near the driveway and shower area. It's still within the general vicinity of the old one, but it's just a little bit further to the left. I can't tell what direction that is, but that's what we're proposing to do based on the conversation we had with Amy on site. And I don't really have any further comments.
okay, thank you.
Do you have any, Sean?
Sure. So,
No, just when we spoke with the contractor out at the site, he said that he had left on a Friday and came back on a Monday, and the trees are removed. So we came out to the site and then invited Amy out to the site to look at some other improvements and to show her what had gone on out there, and then give us direction to mitigate for that removal of that tree.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
I want to thank you guys for bringing it to my attention, because when I had done the pre-construction meeting there, many months ago, when the limit of work went in, those trees were still present. And I know we talked about the vegetation outside the limit of work at the hearing meetings. And it was made known to me that it was known to, it was not known to folks, not Sean or Angela who are here. This is not their fault, but that owners and contractors, whoever they may be, were well aware that these were not to come down, and they came down. The commission did allow quite a bit of activity, even though the house did come pulled back slightly from the resource area. There's still a lot of new structure within the commission's jurisdiction, and the whole site was altered, so that was troubling to me. So what I had recommended was them to come to this meeting. I have not yet issued the enforcement and the fines. I wanted you folks to have the say in that, and said you wanted to as well. I would recommend, we can only fine, unfortunately, 300 per activity, and each tree is an activity here, so $300. But I would recommend, it's really hard to replace a 20-inch diameter oak tree. That was the kicker for this one. The cherries are regrowing and can be trained, that oak cannot. So, and I had mentioned that I think it should be replaced in the approximate same location that it was removed. Folks, it was removed because of the location that it was in. It's right directly in what is probably a view area. And I don't think replacing it with another, it's gonna be a much smaller oak, of course, that's outside the view area. I think they're still getting, I'll say it, they're still getting what they want. And I think it should be replaced next to the old one. So I would recommend the fines and then the replacement of that oak tree no later than spring of next year, and the issuing of an enforcement order as such to let the cherries regrow and an oak be replanted.
Okay, thank you. Wayne?
On this one, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain from comment.
Okay.
What was the caliper of the tree that was taken down?
20 inches.
Wow. It would seem appropriate to put something in rather than something quite small, larger tree.
I would just, my hesitation for bringing in a larger tree is it's an extremely exposed site, and oaks are really hard to transplant as is. So, I mean, I'm not talking about a sapling, but something probably less than 8 feet to start. But I would defer to Angela, or others here that might have more knowledge of how that would work. I just would want to see something thrive.
So, through the chair, Sean Riley, with Time On, representing the property owner. So this is it is a very steep bank, a very short bank, 8 feet. There is a significant amount of area available on the property that may be conducive to other types of trees, tupelo, essentially the whole area up in, let me just highlight this here. This area up in here is part of the property as well. So we might suggest coming back with a plan that could be more aggressive with planting of native trees that would be more conducive to survival within this kind of climate, whether it be tupelo or cedar, within that area, if the board saw fit for us to take a crack at it. And possibly, a cedar or two along the slope. It's just a very steep slope, and It'll take a while for the smaller trees to, and as Amy stated, it's going to be hard, really hard to get a larger tree to acclimate to this location, given all the salt spray.
Okay, thank you.
And I think we did propose a size on there. I can't really read it on the screen. I think I have a plan here. I think we had proposed to match the size of the other oak that was already proposed at 2.5 to 3 inch caliper. I realize that's not anywhere near 20, but just for reference, if you're thinking about what size you would accept.
Okay, Sophia.
I just think that, I think just replacing with the one oak for me doesn't feel like enough. I think even replacing one for one is sort of like the least that could be done. Just with the scale of that tree. The thing that worries me about putting an oak right where they took it out is like, whatever the term would be for like long-term compliance, like, you know.
I understand.
Who's to say it doesn't blow away in a storm magically, you know? Which isn't, I don't mean that in any weird way, it's just, it, like, for it to, like, function and be healthy long-term, like, maybe that area, that mystery left is a better place to ask for more of an effort, on the side of the homeowner. I think that's really fair, and thank you for suggesting it, Sean. That sounds good to me.
I can appreciate that. It just really bugged me.
I totally understand.
Okay, so I have a question, which is, can someone enlighten me on the preferability of a white oak versus a black oak there? Why replace one with the other? Is there a reason for doing that? Is, from our point of view, is one or the other more desirable?
No, I'll let, maybe Angela can answer why you chose the black.
I think we were matching what was already proposed, and I didn't actually do the mitigation plan, so I think white oaks in general might be more readily available, but I can look into that if you really want to match the black oak.
Well,
I don't have a preference for it, and they are already doing white oak as part of the rest of their plan, so.
I also thought I heard Sean suggesting that instead of doing the oak, you would put more alternative native plants there, and I pretty emphatically would not be in favor of that. Oaks are keystone species, and you removed a huge one, which was really a bad move, whoever did it, and I would not at all be in favor of replacing, swapping that out and putting something else in. I'm more inclined to agree with Sophia, maybe 2 oaks instead of just one. It's gonna take a long time to get as large as what was removed was. And I'm also very concerned that an owner chose, one way or another, to just thumb their nose, basically, at what they received as an order of conditions, and I think we need to send a strong message here. And Amy's idea of that was to just insist that we put it in the same place, and I'm very sympathetic to that. But I also think that part of the problem here is the owner, but part of the problem is whoever removed the tree. And we don't know who that was.
No, I asked,
don't
but
know who
I
that was.
understand that people don't want to disclose that, so.
So one of my suggestions about that, there is a site contractor involved in this. And can we ask the site contractor to come and do a show cause and either explain to us they didn't do it or come here and tell us why they did? Is that a
We could ask
possibility?
the contractor to come to a future meeting. It sounds like you might be amending the plan a little bit as a result of our conversations here tonight, so we can ask the site contractor to come.
We can do that.
That's a request I'm making.
It is my understanding that the building contractor that was there on site when we were there with Amy, as well as the landscape contractor who was only recently brought on board was not even in the picture when this tree was taken down. And as far as I know, the building contractor was as unaware as we were that it had happened until he got to the job site on Monday and saw it, because he then informed us and was like, what do we do now? So I don't know if he knows either, but
I don't
I'm sure
think he
that-
does. From his response, I don't think he does know.
What about the homeowner?
The homeowner. Somebody's direction to do it.
Can we do that?
Can request we can request the owner to be present, virtually or in person. It is their property, it's their responsibility.
Well, that's what I like to see happen. And aside from that request, what do we need to do now? I mean,
Authorize me to, issue fines to the owner in the amount of $300 per tree, so $900. And then, because we haven't settled on replanting yet, we're gonna hold off on the enforcement order until we settle on what the replanting is gonna look like.
Is there like a proportion that we can request, like the same way that people do a 4-to-1 mitigation or 3-to-1 mitigation? Like, is there a reverse of that we can?
I think what is, I mean, for a 20-inch caliper oak, I would say 3-to-1. I think that's reasonable for removal of, and that's typically just to, I'm not pulling that out of the air, when people ask to do admin reviews with my department for tree removal, they're usually like hazardous trees. Depending on the size of the tree, it's either 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 replacement. So it's kind of in line with what we do require.
If I can just offer one other thing, just as a suggestion, is I've had really good luck with swamp white oak versus white oak have been kind of a lot pickier, especially at that big caliber. The bicolor seemed to transplant a lot better.
Thank you. So our next meeting is November 6th, and I could certainly send a letter out to the owner requesting their presence one way or the other, if the commission wanted that. And would that give you enough time to revise a plan for us? It's 3 weeks.
Yes, it would.
I'd want something just like the week prior, so 2 weeks out.
We could do that.
Thank you.
okay, we don't need a vote here at this point.
To issue the fines, please,
Oh.
if you see fit.
I'll make a motion that we issue fines totaling $900, $300 for each tree removed to the owner.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Right.
Aye,
Abstain.
so that's 301.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Should we go back to see if Mr. Croto is available?
I think so. You
Oh.
th- Are you there?
Can you
Dan?
hear me?
Yeah.
We can.
Hey, new piece of equipment I'm trying here.
Oh, fun.
My smartphone wasn't very smart, so I switched to my laptop, which also doesn't work so great.
You want to introduce that one again?
Are we ready for this?
Okay, so now we're going to consider the request for determination of applicability for 14 Parallel Street, map 40, parcel D3, for a porch addition with mitigation planting.
Good evening, Dan Croto from Moran Engineering. Turn the camera off, but that isn't working well. This is just a screen porch off in the back rear of the existing house over what's now grass that extends it's in between two patios. Because of the 2-to-1 mitigation, it's beyond the 50-foot, it's beyond the 60-foot. The owners have come up with a planting, what they'd like to do planting plan-wise, and it's existing lawn, so they'll be removing lawn and adding 700 square feet of natural area adjacent to the isolated wetland. So overall, hopefully it's considered an improvement in environmentally. And that's it, just a simple screen porch so they can avoid the mosquitoes when they're here in the summertime. And I'll leave it with that and just ask for questions, please.
Thank you. Amy?
This one's pretty straightforward. It's a 16 by 18 porch, and they're proposing double that in the amount of mitigation per your requirements. The closest portion of the porch would be 60 feet from the wetland. We did meet on site, myself, Dan, and the owner. The owner was very much in favor and excited, actually, of a lot of the possibilities of some plantings that they could do. A lot of what you see are from a list of suggestions, but happy to have any feedback on those. It's pretty, it's shady, it's damp, it's only slightly higher than the wetland itself. So the site's really flat. I would say, I would recommend, and they're taking care of the yard in the way we want them to. They're not using chemicals or fertilizers there. So I'd recommend approval with a -3 determination. That work would take place in the buffer, but would not have an adverse impact to the wetland. Conditions that roof runoff go into dry wells, or if it's too close to groundwater, you could do drip trenches along the drip line. No fertilizers, herbicides, or pesticides in the 100-foot buffer. You could have temporary above-ground drip irrigation for 2 years, and no mulch around the plantings, except a one-time application of a light layer of leaf mulch around the base of the plants, just to help keep moisture in while they establish. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Sophia?
I don't have any questions.
I have no questions.
No questions, looks pretty simple to me.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. Any comments from the public? Doesn't appear to be. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion, we recommend an approval, let's see, for 14 Parallel Street. Is there a, okay, map 40, parcel D3 for a -3 determination.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That's 4-0. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the patience.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I ask us if it would be okay to go out of order to take Robin Kelly from cemetery? No, we don't have anybody else physically here, well, I mean, here for hearings. Okay. That way you wouldn't have to wait through our orders of conditions discussion. Is that okay, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please, Robin.
So this is discussion and possible vote, request for CPC article support. Robin will tell you all about it.
Yes,
I was gonna do a PowerPoint, but then my computer glitched, so I had to print it instead of, this is basically what I'm gonna say, that way you can just follow along.
Thank you.
I always like graphics, because they're
Mhm.
worth 1,000 words. I have been interested in doing this trail and boardwalk permitting for the Cedar Swamp at Island Pond. I don't know if all of you know, but I run the Marceline Arboretum, which is a level 2 accredited arboretum in Island Pond in the 7-acre conservation parcel that's next to it. We have 110 different species of woody plants, and all of the plants are labeled. We are a learning place for people to go. We have native planting gardens where we plant native trees so that the public can go and look at them and see. And we do have a lot of swamp oaks that we planted, and they are fabulous. So I was excited that you mentioned that. They don't require as much water, and boy, they really thrive. So BSC Group had done, I think it was 2012, maybe, 2000.
The land management plan?
Yeah, so they did
11 or 12, yeah.
Yeah. So they did a large thing, I think it was for the Conservation Department. Land management study, it's probably about an inch thick, where they did everything that's in the Island Pond area, and they talked about all of the plantings, all of the wildlife. And in that plan, they had recommended at some point that we do a raised platform type of trail. I was at a meeting of my cemetery, I'm on the board of directors for the New England Cemetery Association, and the BSC group was there, and they said, whatever happened with that Island Pond land management thing? You should really do a walking trail through there. It's a beautiful area in the town that most people don't know. Our kids always went to the White Cedar Swamps, which are in Eastham, and we have a cedar swamp here in town. So it would be nice if people could enjoy it. You can enjoy it on the trail system, and you can see part of it as you walk down the trails through, going from Island Pond up to the Lavender Farm. It's on the left-hand side. The next slide that I have, I talk about our mission of the Arboretum. It's to engage, educate, and enrich the lives of our constituents in order to enable them to be better stewards of the local history and our environment. So you can see I have one of the cedar, the white cedars tagged. So all of our trees that are in the Arboretum, we tag with their scientific name, the common name, a 2-sentence description, and then we have either a local artist draw the leaf, or we have somebody else. We get it from the USDA, so. The trails and boardwalk design for the Cedar Swamp is for educational opportunities, it's for conservation and sustainability, and recreational access. So if it was a boardwalk, it would be ADA, so that everyone could enjoy it. It is, in walking distance from the elementary school, so the kids could walk to it and enjoy it. There is, I'm sure I'm not preaching to the choir here with you people about it, but if you flip to page 8, I had originally proposed the area for the raised platform walking trail, and I sent it over to Amy. So you can see the picture of Island Pond on the right-hand side, which shows the map of the pond. And then the area that's to the left is the area where the yellow line is the part that's part of the Arboretum that was given to us at town meeting. Amy suggested the area with the thicker swamp is to the north of that, and she circled it with the little yellow area, and said that there was probably issues with their titles. So I had reached out to Carly in the assessing department, and she said that there is a little bit of title work that will need to be done. She has put the article for this year's town meeting, article number 39, to clear the title. We did get a lot of land transferred, and part of that original conservation articles that the BSC group, there is 3 pages of title stuff that they already did for the whole Island Pond area. So we don't know if it was conveyed in that part, or if it needs to have somebody else just look it over a little bit more. So she's gonna have somebody look into it. I've already pulled a deed that has the exact detailed description from one of the Underwoods that was taken by the town. We're just trying to make sure that that's correct. So I'm asking for support for this application to explore the concept of this boardwalk. So if it's even possible. I believe it is possible, they think it's possible, and it would be I think, invaluable educational area for the town. So the price quote for the walking trail and design and permitting is $54,000. It's not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. I have reached out to, I work with a lot of different grant writers, and there is a couple grant writers that have stuff specifically for this type of, project that you would do. And I'm waiting for them to get back to me on that. I do want to get permission, or at least something from you guys saying that you are interested in such a project. Whether it gets approved by the CPC or I do an article for it, either way, I just wanted your input or feedback to me on it.
Thank you. Do you have comments, Amy?
Yes, just to reiterate what Robin said, the well, going back a little bit, the 7-acre piece of land that's conservation clearly owned, that's part of the Arboretum, is to the south of where the cedars are. I don't believe maybe there's one or two, but I don't believe we have any Atlantic white cedars on that 7-acre piece. I do think that they are all on that northeast rim of Island Pond.
Yeah, or in the very far end.
Yeah, they're,
On
so,
the other side of the pond,
right,
yeah.
right. So, that being said, Robin let us know that Carly, the town assessor, is looking at doing an Article 39 for kind of cleaning up some titles. And this very well, it kind of makes sense that it's town, but we're not exactly positive. So, but I don't think, and yourself and administration don't think that should hold up at least having this discussion, because that's, still 7-8 months away from when that's gonna happen, so,
I did bring it up with Joe, and spoke to him about it after Amy brought this to my attention. I did not know about this possible cloudy title. So he said, no, proceed with it. We'll do the title research. We'll do the title work on it. And I think you should move forward with it, is what he said. Because I asked him if I should withdraw it.
this would only be a vote to be in favor of exploring the option, because your role in this is kind of twofold. Potentially, you either own the property or could potentially own the property, have care and custody in the future, and then also eventually down the line, if this is to move forward, you would have to permit it. It isn't a wetland. So you can't really say, you can't approve it, say that you're going to approve it. It's just to approve the further exploration of this, essentially, which I would suggest that you do.
I think it's a great idea, John. I've walked that swamp many times. It's kind of pretty down that cedar portion of it.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
And I think people do walk in there now, and they're walking in where all the water is, and it's probably disturbing the wildlife. And if we wanted to, you know, sometimes it gets really wet in there. It would be nice if it was handicap accessible for other people to go in there as well. And there are probably 15 different grants currently out there right now for projects exactly like this. If I don't use it for mine, I'm going to be handing them over to Amy to potentially use it for something else that you guys would probably want to do in the town.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's a good project to support.
Sounds great.
So just to clarify, the CPC, the request for funds from CPC is for design and permitting. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with actual construction costs.
Correct. So,
When you're talking about, there's a bunch of other projects out there, I don't, what is that?
no,
have to
so
do-
so when I went on to the grant website to look at different possible grants that I could apply for if I wanted to move forward, because when I had talked to the Conservation Trust, they said, I went to them and I said, I'm getting into this thing, and, I know that you guys have done all these projects. He goes, Robin, it's gonna be very expensive. I want you to start looking at grants. So he pointed me, Mike did, in different ways that I could try to get funding for this project, for either or, the beginning stages for just design and permitting, or for the actual construction. So I've been researching all of those and writing them all down, and getting all the information to apply for those if this ever comes to fruition. So I have to have support from the town before I can move forward.
Honestly, if I'm being frank, I'm less enthusiastic about this than my colleagues, because that's relatively undisturbed land there, and I'm a little concerned about doing construction project in there. But I see the benefits, and I guess there's no harm in looking into it and finding out what it would cost, and if people are in favor of doing this, then at least we need to figure out how to do it with the least possible impact in there. So those are my thoughts.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Please.
So you mentioned the boardwalk, potentially, hopefully being ADA compliant. The whole area around it is not ADA compliant, so would there be an additional component to make the route to this be ADA
So we do have
compliant?
that parking
Right.
area that we have in Island Pond that has that, just a slight
Yep,
walkway that goes down, which is pretty close to
correct.
that area. So if we did, we would probably look at trying to, I remember at one point we were looking at doing some remediation work with all of there's so many invasives down there too.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah,
so much briar and all that other stuff, to at least do something to the canopy so you can see the pond. When you're in Island Pond, you can only see, when you're in Island Pond Cemetery, you can only see Island Pond in the wintertime, when all the leaves are off the tree, because it's so thick with all this viney material that's, all the invasives that are growing all over the trees in there as you first come in on the left-hand side. It's
yeah.
pretty thick. So there could be an ADA component
Okay.
from that parking lot going down to it,
Okay.
yes.
Is there any comment?
Do we have any public comment? Doesn't seem like it.
Okay.
So we need a vote here, is that it? Or what do we
Yeah,
need?
to support,
Just to support the application.
the
not for
application, yeah,
yeah.
to further explore this.
I'll make a motion, we support the application for the proposed boardwalk and trail at Island Pond.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, is it okay if I draft a letter to that effect and have you sign it? Or if you
Yeah.
want, you can draft a letter, but I don't mind doing it.
Yes, please. Would you please? So where are we here?
Back to the
We got
orders of
Orders
conditions.
of conditions. The first being an order of conditions for 35 Snow Inn Road, map 8, parcel F1-0 for installation of a permanent dock.
Can we do all four at the same time?
I have different comments on several of these. Can we,
Good night, Patrick and Sky.
can do them all, but I'm going to open them up and, let's just do them one at a time. We'll be done quickly.
We'll blow through, right?
This one?
Whatever your purview.
Specifically, the first one, 35 Snow Inn Road, it is my recollection that we asked specifically for a revised plan.
We got it.
Doesn't look revised to me. It looks like the same plan.
Got it literally today. So it may not be the one that's online.
Well, it's not, I didn't open up the new plan today, so I.
So it's
would-
right here. I'm happy to show it to you. Bring it or share it with you. So two sheets there.
Okay, well,
Platform's gone and the planting stuff's
all right,
gone.
well, that was my question, so I don't
Yeah.
have anything more to say, so. Any other comments on 35 Snow Inn Road?
I'd move for approval of the minute,
I'll
the
second that.
order of conditions. Project number SC 322569.
Okay. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next was 49 Sisson Road. That is an order of conditions for 49 Sisson Road. I have a question about this as well,
Sure.
which is that what the order of conditions says is that only if they pave the driveway are they to make a swale. I don't recall that that's what we voted on.
No, I don't. I
I-
think you're correct. It's supposed to be a swale no matter what.
All right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I can change that.
Anything else?
A good catch.
That's why they call me Catch.
Can I, can I say driveway may be pervious or paved, but shall be pitched into a swale?
Yes. Okay. So I'll move that we approve the order of conditions for 49 Sisson Road, map 21, parcel S1-B-0, with modifications just discussed.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have an order of conditions for Saquatucket Harbor East Jetty Light 6, latitude 41-39-48.64 north and longitude, excuse me, 70-03-39.570 west for repairs and replacements of existing aid to navigation structure.
This one was very short. Conditions.
I move that we approve the order of conditions for that.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How many conditions can you put on, get it out?
I had a question about, well, the next one is an order of condition for 31 Shore Road, map 2, parcel B1-7, for the installation of 36-foot boulder revetment with a height of 4 to 5 feet from the end of the existing revetment to the western property line, and amended order of conditions. So the date, I was confused by the expiration date of the order of conditions. It says 2026.
Correct. An amendment does not extend an order of conditions. So the expiration date remains the expiration date that it had.
But wasn't the previous one also an amendment?
It had an extension, right, so that is so it was the original order, and then it got an extension to further explore this, so I checked that date, and the expiration
Okay.
would be 3/17/26.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, it can have 5 amendments, it's still the same expiration date unless you issue an extension permit.
So I'll move we approve the order of conditions for 31 Shore Road, map 2, parcel B1-7.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Last one.
So we've done the first discussion and possible vote, so we have discussion and possible vote for update on Herring River study.
I'd hope to have more for you, but I don't. We're, end of this month, they're supposed to be giving us a final study and making an appointment to come give you a presentation on their findings. The person who was heading that study up with TRC was, let go. So, I have yet, other than them asking me to pay them, I have not heard from them. So I need to get a hold of kind of the heads, because I'm getting a runaround about where things stand. We did pay the bill. They're saying we didn't. We paid the
What's
bill.
that?
They've been billing us like every month or every other month for the services rendered, and they're saying that there's a bill that we haven't paid, but we have paid it. But I understand the billing department is completely different than the people doing the study. So I will, by your next meeting, have more of an update for you, because I'll get a hold of somebody at the head of TRC and find out what's going on.
So they also submitted a paper on the study to a major national conference.
Which should be happening like right now.
Do we know whether
It was
accepted?
It was accepted.
Did
And
they-
that person who did most of the work had been relieved of his duties. I don't know why. Never had anything but a great experience working with him. Super easy to communicate with. I have no idea.
Do you know if he's going to this conference? They are going to this conference and presenting the paper?
I don't. I don't know if TRC was going minus him or not. I can ask.
Well, that would be interesting to know. Has anyone bothered to send a copy of the paper that was submitted?
Nope.
That's
It's
really forthcoming.
It's really been crickets since he left, other
But
than
he
asking
didn't-
us for money.
He didn't share a draft or?
From my understanding, it was a very quick, because he actually asked me, he emailed me afterwards on his own, he let me know what happened. TRC didn't. He emailed me professionally and didn't go into detail, but said, I've been relieved of my duties at TRC. Could you please send me a copy of what he had drafted in terms of a proposal, so he could use it to go forward for, hopefully finding another job. And I sent it to him, so.
But isn't it a little strange that you never saw a copy of the paper that he submitted? I would have thought it would have been standard for him to send.
It was a
you-
poster, I apologize, it was not a paper.
But you saw nothing
Saw
in
nothing.
writing. He had to send some proposal to the conference.
I may have a draft. Let me check. I may have a very initial draft.
Okay.
That was a while ago, let me check.
We're not down to a final payment, are we?
No. I mean, they're supposed to make a presentation to us, to the public, about this study.
Okay.
But I just think it's kind of crappy that, had he not reached out,
You would-
that TRC didn't even let us know that the principal on this project wasn't working for them anymore.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's
So,
not very good.
Okay, well, it'd be nice to
so we'll put this
understand.
on November 6th for more.
Okay.
And then we just got minutes.
We have the minutes. I sent my comments on the minutes.
We got 'em.
which were-
Isn't Sherry doing good? No, she is doing good.
Good job. Any other comments on the minutes?
No?
I move for approval on both sets of minutes.
There's just one.
I thought I read two.
Maybe you read it
I saw
twice?
one online.
Read it twice.
Maybe.
Very well.
Okay.
All right, so Mark moves for approval.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we done? Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting of October, what is it, 16th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.